Greetings! Today on my Focus RS, I am installing the brand new SiCo Developments bonnet struts. Alright, here we are then, the bonnet strut kit from SiCo Developments, and it looks absolutely awesome. You get obviously your struts, which have these nice sort of shiny ends to them, and of course all of the required hardware to install. So if you've been following my videos, you will have seen quite recently that I installed some bonnet struts from Ford, the genuine Ford parts bonnet struts, and they went in very nicely, they fitted great, and they looked great, and I thought quality was spot on, there was no visible issues. But unfortunately, that turned out to not quite be the case, which is why we are here installing the SiCo Developments kit. Now, what I discovered, I was actually doing another install the other week. So if I jump over to the car here, it was the install of this, the radium catch can on the PCV side. And whenever I opened up the bonnet, I noticed that the strut on this side was literally just hanging off. You can see I put the standard post back in, and I've removed the strut from this side. If I get closer, you can kind of see just right there. It's like gone all kind of rusty, and it had literally just fallen apart. I've got the strut over here. I left this part in because, well, I would need to use pliers to get it out. This is as it was. You can see the rust around the edge. So this is the ball end that was in the little bracket. It's not entirely clear how Ford bonded their ball end onto the bracket, but clearly it wasn't done very well, and it just literally fell off and went rusty within really a very short space of time. That was like about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So, you know, that's pretty poor. Like I said, the Ford kit did seem pretty good. I mean, the struts are spot on, and the brackets are really nicely designed in terms of how they're shaped for the car. You know, if I go back over here, we can see that, you know, they fit really nicely with the profile of the bonnet, and so you get a really nice OEM look. But obviously, if they fall apart, there's not much point to it. This one over here is fine. You can see that that ball end is in the bracket right here, and that is where it is meant to stay. There's certainly no welding going on, and I can't see any evidence of adhesives, so I'm gonna guess that they just compressed them in there, but that clearly isn't good enough. So that is where the SiCo Developments kit comes in. So what SiCo Developments have done is they have looked at the Ford design, so the brackets, both lower brackets and upper brackets, and they have very simply improved on that design. So as you can see, our ball ends, which are nice and shiny polished, the ball ends themselves are like little bolts, and we have nylock nuts on the end, and they are just really securely in there, so they are not going to just randomly fall off. Apart from that, the shape of these brackets is basically identical to the Ford kit. So essentially what we have here from SiCo Developments is all the benefits of the Ford kit, i.e. this is going to fit beautifully and look very OEM plus, but without the negative of them falling apart. So this really, I would say, is the ultimate bonnet strut kit. So yeah, I now need to jump back over here and remove the remainder of the Ford kit and get the SiCo Developments kit in, and all will be good. Alright then, what better place to start than with the offending bracket. So for this, I just need a 10mm socket. Identical pretty much in every way, apart from this shockingly... In fact, look, that's even bent out of shape. I mean, that is pretty crappy. So yeah, Ford quality control, I don't know what they were thinking with this, but anyway, this just, you can clearly see this is just a vast improvement on the design. Alright then, now we can get our new SiCo Developments bracket in place. Now, SiCo Developments, they provide us with a nylon washer and some brand new hardware for installation, so a brand new washer and nut. This is a nice nylock nut, so it won't wriggle out under vibration, which is a nice touch. The reason for the washer is just to compensate for the fact that we now have a nut here, so this is just going to space this out ever so slightly, so we put that behind the bracket. Then our washer, and then our nut, and then we torque it to 11 Newton meters. So there we go, that's that bracket in. You can see with the addition of the nylon washer that we still have nice fitment, but we have this gap right here, so we're not going to be clanging that nut off of the bracket for the bonnet. So cool, yeah. Now I'm going to just bounce on over here. Might as well just do the exact same on this side. I need to obviously remove the strut so it just pops out of the ball ends, and then remove that bracket just as we did before and replace it with our nice new SiCo Developments bracket. There we go, looking lovely on that top bracket. Now we can move on to the lower brackets, which do require a little bit of dismantling of our cowl area here, just to get access to the area where we can replace the forward one with the new SiCo Developments bracket. So first thing, T30 Torx, remove 2 screws on either side. Alright, next then, on this side we have our washer fluid line, so we can just clip it out of this plastic thing at this end. It's just kind of sitting in there. We do need to pop this little door thing open, so slide in at this side with a plastic trim tool and then just push it upwards. See where it just pops right open, and then we can remove that out of there. Next thing then, on both sides there is a little locking tab for this plastic bracket thing, so we just push that inwards and then that should unlock it, as you can see. Yep, so just repeat that on the other side. We just pull it towards the outside of the car. Next, along the edge of the cowl, we have these little pop clips. So there are 4 of them. I have a plastic trim tool, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to pop them upwards initially. See, like that, it's like sitting up now. And that is it loosened. So then I can come in with my metal trim tool and just wriggle that underneath and then lift it up. There we go. So now we're just going to repeat that for the other 3. Now with that done, we can lift our cowl up, and you see that bolt right there? There's one on either side. We need to remove that, and it is a 10 mil. Alright, now we're going to remove the bolt that's right here, and once again, 10 mil. This is the one that is, well, in my case, in the bracket. If you're running stock, it'll just be in here. It'll most likely be color matched to your car. So there we are. And we remove that on both sides, of course. Now is the time then to finally release this plastic thing. So we need to like slide it this way. There's like a little plastic bit that's in the bit of the bodywork. So you pull it this way and then that goes into like a space which it can then come out of. So yeah, we just get a good grip, pull it this way and that releases that, and then we just kind of manipulate it out of there. And with that release now, and of course removing that bolt from the bracket here, the bracket is now of course loose, so we can manipulate this entire assembly out of here. There we go, and that is with our old Ford bracket in there. Obviously if you're doing this from stock, you won't have the Ford bracket in there, you'll just have nothing, so it'll be a little bit simpler, but it's pretty much the same process either way. So now, just need to repeat that on the other side. Of course then, I need to remove the Ford bracket from this sort of cutaway, this sort of slit right here. So it's a bit of a tight squeeze, but just have to squeeze it out of there. So side by side, Ford bracket, SiCo Developments bracket, exactly the same again as the upper brackets, but like we were saying before, we don't have this weirdly badly bonded in ball end. We have a nice, secure, bolted in ball end, which is not going to fail on us, which is a nice bit of peace of mind. So that is the next part then. We're going to get our brackets into the car. Okay, these lower brackets, they are mirrors of each other, so there is a correct one for each side. So this one, you can see ball end with the hole on the bracket pointing that way. This is for this side, so I go up close. So the bottom part of the bracket is going to slide into this little slotted area, and then that is going to line up with the hole in the bodywork, and this is where we use the original hardware now, washer and little screw to get that in there, and we're going to put a little bit of Loctite glue on there just to make sure that it doesn't wriggle out under vibration. Alright, so I'll put a washer over our screw and then get it located by hand. Make sure that the bracket is in the correct position. There are little bits on the bottom of the metal that line up with the bodywork grooves, so we just make sure that that is in there. So, hand tight. So this one we're going to torque to 10 Newton meters. There we go. Now we repeat that on the other side. Alright then, we're ready to get our plastic shroud back on here. And of course this part, the ball end, needs to go through this gap in the plastic bit. Now the Ford version of this had the ball end obviously, and then not very much on this side. It was a very tight squeeze, as you will have seen from removing this from the Ford bracket. The SiCo Developments one being a little bit wider, it probably would be a bit much. I don't want to damage the plastic. It probably would fit, you know, you probably could manipulate it, maybe do the nut end first and then the ball end, or vice versa. But the cool thing about it being a bolt and nut is that I can just simply remove this and then very easily slot this in and then tighten it back on. So that's what I'm going to do. So to do that, we need a 10mm socket for the nut and then a 12mm wrench just to hold this side whilst we release the nut. And then yeah, it'll be nice and easy. Alright then, with that off, we can easily get our plastic back in place. So things to note are this bit of the plastic needs to be on this side of the bodywork, lining everything up just as we removed it really. So we just have to manipulate this in here. And then we want to put this little tab here into the hole. So push it down in, and then whenever everything else is in place, push upwards, and that will lock that little tab into place, and we should be pretty much decently aligned. So then we have this little push tab. We want to give that a push. That clicks into place. So yes, you can see that we have our bracket coming up through the slot. This is clicked in, this is nicely aligned. So yeah, just need to get the one on the other side in place now. Alright, now we can get the ball end back in. So the ball end, of course, is pointing towards the inside of the car. And then we go washer. And then our 10mm nylock nut. This side then, we can tidy up this washer line cabling. So this electrical part wants to be scooched underneath there, that little groove right there. Then both parts into that groove, then just through this sort of flappity bit. Get this in here, and then just the washer line part, not the electrical part, into our little door thing that we popped off earlier. Just get everything kind of nicely in there, and then push to click in. There we go. Next part is our grey bolts that go in underneath the coil here, so in that hole right in there. Now these are not in super duper tight. If you're doing this, you will have noticed that whenever you're taking them out. So essentially just getting them in and getting them, you know, snug, but you know, not he-manning it. They do not need to be super duper manly tight. So that's that side, and then this side. Okay, I will use a socket then just to give it a little bit of snug tightness, and then we can move on. Okay, next is our little push clips. So we just manipulate that in through, like so. I like to position the flat bits along the flat of this, just in case we want to take this out again in the future. It'll just make it a bit easier. So then once it's in, just push it down. Last part of the coil then is our two T30 Torx screws on either side. So just getting that in there, and then just a quick little buzz in. Alright, last piece of the puzzle then is the struts themselves, and they go with the cylinder in the upward position. The way that the SiCo Developments ones work is slightly different to the Ford. If I bring the Ford over, the Ford has two little plastic springy teeth kind of thing. So with the Ford you literally just push it on, whereas with the SiCo Developments, with our metal heads, you can see this like retaining pin here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just push the end of that outwards so it pops out of place, right? And then I'm going to remove that so that I can then put that over the ball end, and then I'm going to bring this back and put that back in place, and that will be it locked. Okay, with the retaining pins all removed then, we can go over and we'll need to raise the bonnet a little bit to get the bottom. The retaining pin then, the vertical part first, so get that in. Okay, and you should see it sort of poking up through the end there, and once you have that, it only needs to be poking up so far as for the rest of the pin to be around the neck here, and then we just push, clicks into place, and that's that locked. So then we do the exact same thing for the lower one. Alright, nice, that is that side done, so now we just get the exact same process done on this side. There we go. And with that, we are installation complete. Well, I say installation complete, I'm going to remove this. Well, there we go then, that is the installation finished on our brand new SiCo Developments bonnet struts, replacing the Ford parts bonnet struts, which we thought were okay, but clearly were not manufactured very well. And the SiCo Development struts, of course, taking the design cues that worked on the Ford parts version and just improving upon the design. So what's not to like? Installation was quick and easy, I would say easier than the Ford version, in particular for getting that plastic bit over the lower bracket, where on the Ford one, where the ball end is fixed, it was kind of tough to get it over the ball end, but the SiCo Developments one being bolted on with a nut, it just removes that and it makes that part of the process that much easier. I think they look great as well, whereas the Ford version are OEM plus. These give maybe a plus kind of vibe because they use the OEM design cues but improve upon it. It's just happy days. So I think they're great. I hope you like them too. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe for more content to come very, very soon. Thank you once again. Goodbye.
Yeah.